thanks to everyone for joining. This is kind of fun. Never done something like this, but it's awesome that Jay is doing this, and I think all of us will get some benefit out of it. So, you know what? It's 12:02, Jay.
All right, I got a
let's
few
get going.
more. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. I kind of had this idea after I saw quite a few posts on the site regarding overseed. Obviously, we all love ryegrass season. It is much better than Bermuda season, even as a turf grass grower, because there's not much better looking than ryegrass. So I wanted to I asked Michael if I could just do a short presentation, just kind of talk about different attributes of ryegrasses, what to look for, how to scalp, how to do things properly. I'm going to be pretty generic. I don't want to go too over the top. Obviously you guys can email me later, or if there's something specific to your house or relating to something you want to do different, but I'd like to keep it more on the simple side. That way everybody understands. Also keep in mind, things I say today does not mean it is the only way. It's just, I'm kind of telling you the agronomically, what we have studied and researched and have found out is the best way to overseed. So obviously, as this has been going on for 50 plus years in Phoenix, things have changed in philosophy on overseeding. So I'm going to kind of go through those now. And again, just remember, your landscaper, you may have done them differently. Doesn't mean they're not correct. It just means there may or may not be a better way to do it. So just keep in mind. So a little bit about myself real quick. I have been with West Coast Turf for 17 years. Prior to that, I was a golf course superintendent for 13 years, or in the golf business for 13 years, not a superintendent. But so I have been around turf grass for 30 years. I have a bachelor's degree in turf grass science from Michigan State. And I also attended a school in Arizona called Mundus Institute for turf grass back when I was trying to convince my dad I no longer wanted to be a business major and needed to be a turf major. So it worked out. And then I went back to Michigan and got my degree in turf grass. So here I am. So we've got that out of the way, and I'm going to just kind of get going here. And I'll, like Michael said, I'm going to run through some slides, talk about some different information, and then we will open it up for questions afterwards. So. Right. So West Coast Turf, we've been around for 30 years now. We grow sod and stolons out on the farm. We do Bermuda grass, paspalum, cool season grasses, you name it. We have it. We have over 30 different varieties. And we grow for homeowners, landscape, golf courses, stadiums. So we kind of travel all over Arizona, California, Colorado, New Mexico, Texas. So pretty well whoever calls us. I'm sure I've worked with many of you in the past. Some of our obviously most memorable things is we've done 8 Super Bowls over the years. We do the Rose Bowl every year, and we do and have done 7 national championship games. So a lot of times we go in the week before an event, change out the field, and put our grass in. They will take the grass back out after an event and donate it to usually an underprivileged school, which is a great program that a lot of universities do, and we get to team up with them on that. So that's a little bit about us. Now let's jump right into overseed here. I got my email here on the front page. You guys can write that down, or feel free. It's at the end of the presentation too. If you have any questions that don't get answered today, you can always email me, and I usually respond within 24 hours or so. All right. Obviously, the first thing that always comes to mind is, should I overseed my lawn? Well, the first question you got to answer yourself is, has your lawn had 100 days with no competition? And what that means is, if you can count back from the day you're going to start overseeding and say you had no ryegrass from the previous year, or you have no Bermuda grass that's really struggling right now, then yes, you've had 100 good growing days. So that includes people that sodded this year. Sometimes you'll hear don't sod the first year, but if you had 100 days of Bermuda grass growing before you seed, it is okay to overseed. It doesn't mean you have to, but you can overseed. Anything less than that, it's kind of dicey. You can still get away with it if you're kind of on the brink there, but I would recommend the first year letting it go dormant if possible. Second thing is your lawn healthy? Typically, Arizona, we don't get a lot of disease. We do get some insect issues. Those are obviously pretty easily treated. But if you have had quite a bit of disease all summer, I would probably give the lawn a rest, get it treated, and go from there. One thing we see in the group a lot is people ask about pre-emergence. Pre-emergence can be difficult with overseeding. The ones that we are often used by golf courses and whatnot are like prodiamine, and that's a product that needs to be used at least 6 weeks prior to seeding. So if you were to say you wanted to seed October 15th, you could still spray prodiamine now and get away with it. If you wait 2 weeks to spray it, you're looking at November 1st, you're kind of getting borderline, and I would skip it for this year and just pretty well just go with post-emergence only if needed. All right, I'm just going to quickly check and make sure there's nobody to get in the room here. All right, everyone's back in again. Now, also keep in mind post-emergent herbicides. A lot of you guys have used Sandia or Sedgehammer for nut sedge, products like that. Make sure you're on between 14 and 28 days after post-emergent herbicide products. And you'll have to check out the label for the exact product because they all differ. If you've answered yes to all these, then yes, you can overseed. So. All right. Next question is, do you have to overseed? Obviously, no. The answer is no. I mean, some of your HOAs do require it. This is my lawn that we're looking at out front. I did not overseed last year, and I am not going to this year out front. This is at Halloween, and one of the greatest things about not overseeding is when everybody else's lawn is down and looking terrible, Bermuda grass paspalum look great. September and October are two of the best looking months for warm season grasses. I did paint this about a week before this picture was taken, and usually the paint lasts about 45 days on there, and then you can do it again. So I'll go over that in a little bit, but back to, do you have to overseed? No. And some of the things it does for you is it allows your root system to get stronger. So if you haven't had grass in for 100 days, I recommend not overseeding because you don't want to tear it up when you scalp, and you want to keep those rhizomes strong. Obviously, not overseeding is going to save you quite a bit in money and gas, water, and we are seeing some water restrictions now. So depends on what's important to you. Maybe winter grass is more important than summer. By not overseeding, typically your lawn is green March through November, and then you could paint those other months with a dye. If you don't overseed, your lawn will green up much faster in the spring, and you have zero competition as you go. So where everyone else is fighting transition March, April, May, and a lot of times June, you already have your lawn in, and giving it a rest is always good for the plant. All right, moving to overseed preparation. We are on September 1st, and if you are overseeding, I recommend you do not fertilize again for the rest of the season. You don't want your grass lush going into the fall. You don't want to be taking off a ton of grass when you're scalping. So obviously cutting back on any fertilizer is going to help you there. Next thing you want to do is pick your expected overseed date. The optimal window is October 1st through October 31st. And the dates are kind of irrelevant. It's the nighttime temperatures. So it's 55 to 65 degrees is optimal. I know some people like to seed in September, and yes, you can get away with it. Yes, it will work, but you are battling a lot more competition than you are in October. So when nights hit 55, the Bermuda grass is really slowing down, and you're going to get a better overseed out of it. You can actually go with a lower seed rate if you seed later than if you seed earlier. All right, next, as I talked about, no pre-emergence more than 6 weeks before seeding. So again, if you're planning on the middle of October, you could still get away with an application of Barricade, also known as prodiamine. Going to check one more time real quick again to see if we have any participants coming in. All right, moving on here. Maybe, okay. This is an important step and kind of something we've discovered is a little bit different over the last 5 to 10 years. Is before we start seeding, it's important to start raising your mowing height up 50%. And one of the reasons you're doing that is you're trying to get a little more leaf canopy, and there's no reason to scalp the grass down to the dirt. Scalping going lower doesn't make you have a better ryegrass season. All that's important is how open the grass is. So, and then the second thing is so you can start reducing your water when you're 2 weeks away by 25 to 30%. Right now, we're at about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches a week. So you can cut that below 1 inch of water for the week as you go, and keep dialing that back as you get closer. All right, some places use plant growth regulators. I know some of you have asked me, can I seed in September? Yes, you can. And they say, how do golf courses do it? They use plant growth regulators such as Primo, Turflon Ester. There are products like that. If you seed in October, they're really not necessary, and it's pretty well a step you can skip. You know, on a sod farm, we don't have a lot of choice. Golf courses, you don't have a lot of choice because people want the product in early October. That means we need to seed in September. So we're fighting the competition here, which is not ideal. We actually have to go with a seed rate that's 1.5 times the rate that we would in October. So in that situation, we will use a product called Primo, and that regulates the growth. A lot of you guys use that throughout the year to regulate your Bermuda grass growth. And it can also be used year round on ryegrass every 4 weeks to keep your mowing down. Primo here, I'm not going to really go over rates and touch too much on it. Obviously, there's many different products. Primo is just one of them, also called T-Nex. Those are just brand names. What it won't do is it doesn't, you do not lose any color, but it does make the leaves a little bit tighter on the plant. You want to put this down 1 week prior to overseeding, and then it starts to slow down your crop. Some golf courses use some alternative options, diquat or triclip here to dry out the leaves, and it reduce some of the clipping waste. Not really a big deal in your average home yard. You know, you got 1,000 square feet, 1,500. Not really a big deal. It's just kind of some of the other things you'll see people do, and it's called burning down the leaf, and then it also reduces some of the scalping. Okay, picking out seed. This is huge. Every place you guys go, whether it's the big box stores or irrigation specialty stores, they all have different types of seed. I do not recommend buying any seed that has less than 85 to 90% germination rate. And you don't want any weed seed in the bag. This is all should be on the seed tag. So when you look at the tag, it's going to say what the germination rate is, how much weed seed, how much inert matter is in the bag. By getting a high quality seed, you're going to push out any potential weeds, and obviously that's less seed that you need to use. Most people use perennial ryegrass for overseed. Some use annual ryegrass. The color and the coarseness of annual ryegrass isn't as nice as perennial ryegrass. That's why you will see more people use that. There's also intermediate blends, which is basically a perennial and annual mix. Again, I would lean more towards perennial. I'm going to go over quickly just kind of some of the attributes of each. Annual ryegrass, while it seems like you should use annual ryegrass because you want the grass to get out of there, perennial will also die pretty quickly in the spring. But one of the characteristics of annuals, it's much lighter green. You don't get that beautiful look that you get from perennial. It is a lot less expensive. Ironically, there's more mowing because it does grow taller, and the leaves are much coarser. I'm not a big fan of it personally. Some places are. I mean, that's completely up to you. It's not a bad route to go, but it is a little bit different. It will die a little bit quicker in the spring versus perennial ryegrass. So if you've had kind of a rough Bermuda season, you still want to overseed, maybe annual might be the way to go there. All right, perennial ryegrass, I put a little picture of it, how it looks up here. You can see beautiful dark green color, finer leaf blade. It does last a little bit longer in the spring, and that's just because scientists are trying to make that first year-round grass here in the desert, which they keep getting closer and closer to, but we're still probably at 9.5, 10 months that ryegrass will last. Unfortunately, unless it's 12 months, that's not great for us. So the longer it goes, the harder it is for us to transition. So that's a different topic for a different day, but I do recommend perennial ryegrass over annual. You guys are going to see a huge jump in perennial ryegrass and annual ryegrass prices this year. One of the reasons is in Oregon, they had a lot of fires and the heat this year, and the seed needed to be cut early. Ryegrass quantities and seed are very low this year. So golf courses, sod farms, they're telling us truckloads that we will not be getting this year. So don't be shocked to see $2.50, maybe $3 a pound when you go to the store, whereas last year it was about $1.15, $1.20. So that is, something to obviously keep in mind if you're deciding overseed or not to overseed. Okay. Calculating your seed needs. I put a sod tag here on the side. Just going to kind of quickly go over some of the information. You can see the germination rate on this particular seed is 90%. And it has a pure seed of 97%. That means 97% of this 50-pound bag of seed is good seed. A lot of seeds you may find at the store may have a germination rate of 80%, and then by the time you calculate it out, you're only getting about 80% pure seed. And what that means is, if we're trying to get 15 pounds per 1,000 square feet, you need to increase the rate of ryegrass in order to get to that number. So the ideal rate for ryegrass is 10 to 15 pounds for every 1,000 square feet of grass. The higher end would be if you go a little bit earlier in the year, and if you went a little bit later into, say, November. I threw up the germination times purity tag up here. You guys don't really need to figure that out. I just put that more so you guys can see how they calculate what the percentage of pure live seed is. So my example was this one was 90% germination rate. And then it has, say, 98% purity. It's 88% pure live seed is what is in the bag. So if I say I need 15 pounds per 1,000, that would be 15 pounds at 88% of pure live seed. I need 17 pounds to equal that 15 pounds. Do you need to calculate it that exact? No. If you're within a pound or two, you're okay. Again, that's why I give a little bit of a range of 10 to 15 pounds per 1,000 square feet. That's basically the same way as you would calculate fertilizer. Irrigation. After you've picked out your seed, you're going to want to go through your irrigation before you start scalping and after. Make sure you check all the sprinkler heads. Make sure they're not clogged. Check the filters. They're turning. If you have MP rotors, some of those, they clog real easy and they stop turning. So it's also a good time to calculate water volume. I try to tell people to do it once every couple of months if you can. I know that's not always the easiest situation, but okay, scalping. 1 to 3 days prior to when you're going to start scalping, you turn your water off at your house. You want to dry that grass down. And since you did raise your lawn up 25 to 30% before, you're going to now cut it back to that original height. I'm sorry, you raised it up 50%. You're going to cut it back to that original height. That's going to be your first scalp. Clean that up and then mow again 25% lower than that. This is probably going to be longer than you have ever scalped before. So if your lawn, if it's at 3/4 of an inch at this point, that's plenty short as long as it's open. If you have a dense grass, say Tifway, Tif Tuff, Bobsod, Bandera, They may require light verticutting to open. You can see in this picture how much came out from verticutting. This was done recently. If you are verticutting and you got to get aggressive, this is probably about the last weekend you want to do it because you want to have time for that to grow back in. But a light verticutting or power rake at the time of seeding is okay. Do not dig into the soil and just keep it up a little bit. After you've done that, just clean up the surface. As you guys all know, either rake, blower, and get it all clean and ready. Seeding wise, this might be overkill for some of you, but I hate ryegrass in the rocks or in the areas around it. So I have two different types of spreaders. One is the drop spreader on the bottom, and the other is a rotary up top. So I will tend to do a half rate of seed with the drop spreader and do 2 passes around the edges, and then fill in the middle with the rotary spreader just because it's much faster. Just by doing the drop spreader, you give yourself a little room and you keep the material out of the rocks or other areas or your plants. After you've seeded, lightly drag the seed into the ground. You can use a rake, or if you do have a mat, you can do that as well. Starter fertilizer, there's a ton on the market that you can use. You want something with a good phosphorus ratio. On a bag of fertilizer, you will always see 3 numbers. I'll go with the first one here, 1152.0. It goes nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and that is the percentage of each that is in a bag. So there's 11% nitrogen in this bag, 52% phosphorus, and 0% potassium. All the ones listed here are all great starter fertilizers and can be used as you put your seed down. I won't get into how to calculate fertilizer. It is down here on the bottom, and you guys can kind of go back to this presentation and look at it and to figure that out. Mulch and topper, not really necessary. I know some people really like it. It is an add-on. I know word is it reduces birds feeding off your lawn. That's not really true. They're still going to feed off and find that seed anyway. Luckily, you're putting out 10 to 15 pounds per 1,000. So you can forego the mulch if you want, as long as you're seeding in late September through October. If you get into November and you need to heat up the ground surface, then you do need to use mulch at that point. Okay, after you've seeded, you're going to set your irrigation to run 4 to 5 times a day for between 5 and 10 minutes. Every sprinkler system is completely different. Some of you have BMP rotors, some of you have just regular pop-ups. You don't want to flood the ryegrass. You don't need a puddle. You're just trying to keep it moist on top. So I usually set it at 6 a.m., 10 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m., and maybe 6 p.m. And then you're keeping it moist, the seed moist all day. I do recommend maybe once a day, if you can, watch the sprinklers run. They do tend to get clogged. One may not pop. Any issues you have with that obviously is going to affect your germination. If you keep your seed moist, and it should germinate in 3 to 7 days and you should have a pretty good sized lawn in about 14 days. All right, mowing. Typically your first mow is around day 14, give or take a day or two. What you want to do on that day is turn your water off in the morning, let it dry down all afternoon, and mow as late as possible into the evening. As you know, ryegrass holds a lot of moisture in that first cut, and it can be messy when you make that first mow. So the drier you can get it, the better. Your first lawn with your first mow with a rotary mower, 2 to 3 inches. With a real mower, start between an inch and 1.5 inches, and gradually lower your mowing heights with each mow. And you're going to continue with what you guys have done all summer, which is the 1/3 rule. The 1/3 rule means don't cut more than 1/3 of the plant off at a time. Okay. Moving on. One question just popped up. They asked, are these notes going to be available later? Yes, this presentation will be available, and Michael's going to post that. It'll probably be a day or so when he gets that up there. So sorry if I run through this quick. I'm just trying to get to your questions. I know I'm long-winded. So irrigation, again, after we're at 14 days, I recommend one fertilizer application at 14 days, whether it's another phosphorus application, or you can go with 21-7-14 or triple 15. Those are all great. And they give that ryegrass an extra boost. I love to give the ryegrass a boost before it starts to get cold in November, because the granulars slow down in efficiency at that point. So the more granulars you can get out, 2-3 applications prior to a frost, the better. Moving back to irrigation, at 2 weeks, when your ryegrass is 2 weeks old, you can reduce your water to 1 morning water and 1 afternoon for a week. At 4 weeks, you can reduce it to 1 irrigation cycle per day, and that's going to be a morning water. Morning is always better. You have less environmental conditions. It has all day to dry out, and then water's not sitting on the plant, which could create disease during the nighttime. Once your water's established, or your lawn is established, about 4 to 5 weeks, you're now at a watering of anywhere between 3, and in the wintertime, it could be as high as 10 days apart. So it just really depends on what kind of weather pattern we have. December, January does not take a lot of water. So I advise kind of keeping an eye on environmental conditions. If we get rain, you can obviously go a little bit longer. Ryegrass is pretty easy to see when it's dry. You're going to see the little blue-gray tinge, or when you walk on it, your footprint won't come back up. So then you know, okay, my spacing needs to be a little bit sooner. Some other fertilizers as you go into winter. I'm not selling any of these. These are just some good products here. Every manufacturer makes calcium nitrate out there. Calplex is some seaweed extracts, got some iron in there. I really like iron during the winter, ferrous sulfate. If you are using iron, make sure you keep it away from your walks. It will stain it. And the liquid is not forgiving. As soon as it's on there, it's on there. All right. Foliar feeding, typically December through February is the best way there. And okay, kind of really it for overseed. Just quickly on, if you do not overseed, this was my house again. I'm gonna go back one slide here. This was Christmas time at my house with painted turf. As you can see, it looks about the same as overseed. So without watering or doing anything. If you are not overseeding, mow your lawn down between 1/2 to 1 inch and just let it go into dormancy. You don't want it juiced up with fertilizer as you go into the fall either. So your last fertilizer application should be around the middle of September for that. Water about 1 time per month if there's not supplemental rainfall in between, accounting for about 1 inch of water for the month. Typically, you are going to get some weeds in the winter, so I recommend Barricade, also known as prodiamine, sometime between about the 15th of October and the 15th of November. That's all your winter weeds all year long. And finally, sit back and watch your neighbors mow and watch them water. So non-overseed is a great way to go if you want. I know I ran through that rather quick. I put up our website and phone number here. I also have a turf blog that has probably 70 different topics on it. You can pretty much find anything you need to know. I try to update that every few weeks as possible. And I do frequently ask questions on there as well. So a lot of times you can just find your answer on there, but you can also contact me through that and send me pictures of your house if you have problems. And my email is also listed. So hope you guys enjoyed that. I know I ran through it quickly. I do want to get to questions here. I'm going to kick it back over to Michael and let him start calling on people. So just give me 1 second to find him on the list here.
Thank you, Jay. And how we're going to do it once he turns it back over to me. For now, let's start with just chatting in your questions, and I'll relay those questions to Jay and Francis and let them answer those. And Francis, if you guys don't know who Francis is, he's a guy that has a YouTube channel all about grass. It's a really good YouTube channel. I'll post it in the group again today. But he's very knowledgeable homeowner here in Arizona, has an awesome lawn. you guys probably know him already. But and then anyways, once you chat in your questions, if there's a follow-up question, feel free to just unmute yourself and talk directly back to Jay and Francis and let them let them answer your question. So Joel, you're wondering more about the painting. You've never seen it, you never heard of it, but you're interested. You guys want to talk more about the painting, maybe the product,
Sure.
where you buy it, how you do it?
Sure. There are several products on the market. There's lawn dyes. I like a product called Endurance Organic Turf Paint, and you can get that at a lot of the specialty stores. I know someone like Fertilization would carry it. You probably, on your average size lawn, probably need 16 ounces for an entire year. It lasts about 45 days, and then you would have to do it again. You do want to put it down right before the lawn goes completely dormant. Otherwise, you're putting kind of an excessive amount on. And you just buy a little 2 or 3 gallon backpack sprayer and apply it. So you put about 5 to 6 ounces in with 2 gallons of water and spray it just like you would be spraying a foliar fertilizer on your lawn. But again, cover your sidewalks and other areas, because otherwise you're going to have some green areas.
That answer your question, Joel? Any follow-up? Okay, you're good. All right, so Aaron asks, brand new lawn, seeded in April, not perfect, but very healthy. Is that enough time to overseed?
That's you do have enough time if you feel confident that your root system is strong and the Bermuda has grown in and you don't have giant gaps. I would say yes. Anytime really after June, or I'm sorry, before June, you're okay. Even into July, you're typically okay. April, you should be fine. I would say anytime you're doing a first year lawn, though, follow kind of what I said and do not scalp all the way to the ground. Make sure your Bermuda is healthier. And then in the spring, try to get that ryegrass out as soon as possible by mowing lower.
Can I add something real quick?
Sure.
Go for it.
Hey guys, make sure when you guys do buy grass seed to look over through the content, flip over that bag, whether it's Scott's or or any landscape place, because sometimes I'll talk to somebody, they'll ask, "Oh, what's wrong with my lawn?" It's some people actually will buy tall fescue for some reason, so yeah, be careful about reading that label. Make sure it's perennial ryegrass, not tall fescue. Tall fescue works a little bit better more up north, but when you go into transition, just remember Bermuda grass only has June, July, August to really maximize, to really have optimal growth. So you have a small window. If you make your transition anytime late, I mean, you're gonna have to start, pushing that Bermuda. Or what do you think, Jay?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. You do get some growth out of Bermuda in May, and I was telling them earlier, September and October are beautiful if you're not overseeding for growth wise. But what happens is people get too in love with their ryegrass, and March comes around, and then next thing you know, it's Memorial Day and they haven't started mowing lower yet. Mm-hmm. And ryegrass is like putting a big tree on top of your lawn. So if you have it until May, it's going to shade it out. And as most of you have found out that have a shade tree, Bermuda hates shade, and the longer that rye is there, the worse your Bermuda is going to be. So getting it out earlier, whether chemically or mowing lower, is the best way to combat that.
I'm actually thinking about painting my my front yard, Jay.
Honestly, I'll be doing it again this year. I really liked how early it came out. We did have a warmer winter last year, and I actually started greening up in February. It doesn't grow, but it starts greening up.
Yeah, I did that too. I think if you have more shade, I think it's better to kind of leave that Bermuda grass and just paint it. That way, if you keep transitioning back and forth, I noticed that the Bermuda grass will actually start thinning out, and then all of a sudden, it's a race to actually keep pushing it. And some people don't even have the time to actually, fertilize it. So.
Yep, you're right. I've noticed that too. All right, let's move on. Questions coming in. Daniel asks, is Tenacity a good product to use if I haven't bought any pre-emergence?
You can. I'll take that one offline, because again, specific chemicals, I don't think we should get down in the weeds here, but if he wants to email me, I'll kind of give him a background on that.
Okay.
And a couple other alternative options.
Okay. So there you go, Daniel. Josh Owen asks, any recommendations on specific types of rye and best places to buy rye seed in Phoenix? Of course, West Coast turf, where Jay is at, they have a great product. Francis, being on the homeowner side, I'm sure you have a few suggestions.
Yeah, I've used Ewing's Birdie, and I've also used their Eagle. I'm working with Pure Seed right now, so but some things about the Ewing, I've noticed even people throughout the valley. I've called actually other people and looked at their seed bag or their label, and actually we got Eagle, but it had all different cultivars, so I don't know if they were using the previous year. So there were some inconsistencies in the seed in themselves, even if it was labeled Eagle versus Birdie or something.
I do want to touch on, you brought up a good point. Sometimes we have seed left over from a year or two other places. I will tell you guys, old seed is better than new seed, and which is surprising.
Interesting.
So this year especially, the seed is going to be what we would call a little bit green because it was cut early. The seed is going to be smaller and takes longer to germinate. Year-old or 2-year-old seed germinates much faster than current seed. So don't get if you had seed from last year and you got 25 pounds left, don't worry about it. It's still good just because the tag says it expired. All that, most seed producers just send a sample in to the lab recertifies it, and then they change the tag. So the seed doesn't get thrown away every year. So it typically lasts on average, a few years. So don't get caught up in that if you guys have some sitting around.
Okay. And Jay, where is West Coast turf located where people can go in and buy their seed?
Unfortunately, this year, it does not look like we're going to be able to sell seed because
Okay.
the market is so tight. We are in Scottsdale on the reservation, and every year in the past, we have sold 50-pound bags. I don't see it this year.
Okay.
And that's unfortunate. I think we're seeing that with a lot of stores and a lot of golf courses where quantities are getting cut. So that's, again, the price increase is going to really come into play this year. So
Okay.
but be selective. You have big box stores, you have the irrigation specialty stores, Sprinkler World, Ewing, Horizon. There's other stores out there that have them as well. And, look at the tag, make sure it's what you want, because like Francis said, they sneak stuff in there. They sneak rye or annual rye into a perennial bag. So make sure you're getting 100% perennial.
Perfect. And I've always bought my at A&P Nursery. They have a few locations, and I've always had great luck with them. It's a good blend. So all those places you should be able to find somewhere. And if you're not sure, post it in the group. People can give you their experience and let you know if they've used that seed before. Okay, let's move on. Heather asks, how long before overseeding should I treat for spurge, crabgrass, and nutsedge?
Okay, those can be treated up to 14 to 28 days prior to seeding. And it really depends on which one you're treating for, because crabgrass clinclorac is a little bit different than spraying for nutsedge. So the label will tell you, because they do, I've seen it on all the labels. It may say I think nutsedge is 14 days on Sandia. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I saw recently. And after that, you're going to have to wait until the ryegrass is 28 days old.
Okay. Joel asks, what about putting ryegrass seed on bare dirt? Any difference in the process?
Not a big difference in the process. Obviously, you are not scalping, but one of the things Bermuda grass does, or any warm season grass does, is it provides a base for the seed. And as we always say, the better your base is, the better your ryegrass is. So if you have bad Bermuda grass, you have a bad ryegrass season. And golf courses will see that. Sometimes they seed wall to wall, but some of their Bermuda grass areas didn't fill in. Those are the first to die and the first that they need to sod back. So it happens. I mean, we're holding grass longer and longer every year, which weakens the Bermuda grass. So it's always good to do whatever you can to get it back out of there in the spring.
Yeah, let me add to Jay's comment. Being a Midwest transplant from Missouri, you get into this mode of like, I have to get bare dirt in order, and actually Bermuda is actually your friend. Just open it up like Jay says, just Bermuda's like this during the summertime. What you want to do is let the Bermuda grow tall. It'll actually start loosen up. Scalp it down, but you'll still have the little hairs to keep the seed embedded in there, and it'll keep your dirt more moist, and you don't have to use as much like you would on bare dirt.
That's an excellent point. That's one of the reasons we let it grow a little bit taller before scalping, is because the plant opens up. The shorter you mow it and scalp it, the tighter the grass is, and the harder it is to get the seed into the plant. So if some golf courses, say on a tee or a green, they have to lightly verticut to get the seed in there. Whereas as a homeowner, we don't need to keep it that short, and the grass has a better chance because it's open. Good point, Francis.
Perfect. All right. Cadence says, I just treated nutsedge a few weeks ago, and Bermuda making its way through, but struggling some areas where I see low dead nutsedge. Should I scalp that, or will Bermuda come through? Asking so it's best prepared for rye. Does that make sense?
At this point, I would almost treat it like a divot and fill those areas in with sand since it's low, and hand sprinkle some ammonium sulfate just in those spots, and see if you can get the Bermuda to fill those in the next few weeks. You don't need to do the whole lawn, because again, we're not looking for it to get lush. You're just looking to push those few spots. So just a little bit by hand here and there, and get what you can out of it, and seed as late as possible in that scenario.
Oh, real quick too.
Yep.
September, guys, is the best time where you don't have to do that much. Let your ground rest. So if you're actually looking into maximizing or looking to see what's in your dirt by soil test, this is a good time to take a break. Don't put any more fertilizers. So that way you have a better result, looking into, soil testing as well after 1 month, What do you think, Jay?
I would agree. I love the concept of waiting till almost the end of October to seed, if possible. And I know people love it up in time for Halloween or before that. I am not a fan of overseeding in September, even though we have to do it here. In a perfect world, I would probably seed always about between the 10th and 20th of October, because the lawn looks so pretty in September and October.
Yeah. All right, looks like we have 2 more questions. Aaron Luke asked, I have needed to level my lawn and have put it off. I've got some low spots and was curious if I just have to wait until next summer to do a proper job, or do it during this fall transition.
No, you still have plenty of time to do it. Use a little bit coarser sand and a level lawn rake or something like that, or a drag mat, and just kind of drag it in. Don't bury it. As you go, you can also do some leveling after the ryegrass is in and growing too. So it's okay to top dress that as well once it's established.
Perfect. And if you guys are wondering what the heck is leveling and how do I do it, Francis actually has an awesome YouTube video when he leveled his yard. Go check it out. Francis, real quick, what's the name of your YouTube channel?
Nice Easy Lawn.
Nice Easy Lawn. Awesome. You did it last summer, right?
Yeah, I did it last year at about 117-degree weather.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
And then the last question we have from D-Land is, would thatching be recommended?
If you are going to thatch, you need to do it a little bit lighter than you would have done in June and July. You're kind of pushing the window now in September. You can still do it, but don't set it into the ground where you're pulling rhizomes out. it's very easy to do. You rent a power rake or one of those machines, and it's automatic. It's already set. I recommend when you get it set, pull it all the way up to one of the highest heights, do a couple checks, and gradually take that height down. Again, you're just trying to open it up. Realistically, the best dethatching window is June, July, early August, when you have plenty of time to grow back. But if you're not seeding till the end of October, go ahead and do it. Just, again, don't get too aggressive with it.
Perfect. Aaron, just subscribe to your YouTube channel, Francis. There you go, one more subscriber. And here's the real question. Danielle asked, who has the better home lawn, Jay or Francis?
Well, let me give an honest answer. I change mine about every 2 or 3 months. So Francis is amazing. He's had his in for like 10, 15 years, the same grass. And
Yeah.
I like to play with different varieties and kind of see what's going on. So I'm gonna give that nod to Francis. His is,
there you go.
he has a beautiful lawn.
I won't argue with that. Awesome. Well, I think that is it. Does anyone else here have any other questions? And again, this Q&A and Jay's presentation will be posted in the group. I'll post a link. Give me a day or two and it will be in there. I will also, along with that, post Francis's YouTube channel, because again, that answers tons of questions that people have. We'll also post Jay's information as well, link to his email. He's generous enough to give his email to where you can email him with any questions. And then we'll also post a link to his blog that will answer a lot of your everyday questions as well. Ruby says, what about Michael's lawn? I grow too many trees and I'm having to probably soon get rid of my Bermuda and do like a
St.
tall
Augustine.
fescue. St. Augustine, yes, because I just have too much shade now with all my fruit trees. But I don't know if Francis and Jay, if you guys have anything, and then we'll just close it up.
No, thanks for having me, Michael.
Thank you, Francis.
Yeah, no,
Everything you post in the group is awesome. Thank you, Francis. Sorry,
Thank
Jay.
you guys for taking the time and listening. Appreciate it. Again, remember everything we said here today is it's not the law, it's not the rule, it's just agronomically the best way we found to do things. I know some of you are very advanced in some of the fertilizers you use and chemicals. And if you do have more questions like that, either one of us are happy to answer those. I'm happy to take them anytime. Again, my email's on there. Send me pictures of your lawn. If you have problems, we're happy to help you. And if I can, I will find that answer for you. So
perfect. Awesome. Oh, are you going to make a presentation for spring for Bermuda? I bet we could do that, right?
Yeah, we could definitely do that. We could set that up. So if you guys enjoyed this and you guys want to do that, we will set something up, and I'll try to be not so long-winded next time.
No, you were perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Have a good afternoon, and we'll see you in the group.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.